check. Okay, just again, you're not going to see this, but so typically I'll whip this a couple times around, or I'll tape it to this edge right here. So USB goes in. Again, you want to protect these because people trip on this stuff all the time. And when they either yank the USB cord out of your computer, they can actually rip the USB part out with it, which means you need a new motherboard, which will be $1,500. So, but if I do this, that is not going to, nothing on this is going to, it's going to pull the card something. It's not going to yank out of that. I know that for sure. I usually do the other thing, the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to make another connection though. So where these two connect, let's get rid of this. Oh, wait, that's exactly the problem. Okay, thanks. Usually I'll fold this in half so that I have a handle so that this doesn't get taped all the way around and making it impossible to open up. This goes into here. What's my next move on this camera? Come on in tight, come on in tight. My next move on this guy. Yep, so that's what I'm going to do right here. So again, turn this guy on. Click on menu. Get to this, clear all camera settings, hit set. Go to OK, hit set again. All of those now have been cleared. I'm going to continue to go over and check my custom controls on this. So this is set up for the shutter button to actually be the focus button and the back one to be as well. So I can save it that way. I'm fine with that. So anyway, I'm going to just hit menu to jump out of there again. Go all the way back over now to reset because again, the default of this camera, it's now set this to shoot JPEG. So again, in image quality, hit set, change the top one over to shoot RAW, hit the bottom one over to not shoot any JPEG at all, hit set for that. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to do that you guys can't see is I'm going to take this off to set my diopter for my focus. Again, I'm just focusing on the little LED that's in there, the readouts. And then finally, I'm going to change the focusing pattern by clicking on this back button and then using the memory function button up here to change my patterning. And I'm going to go to the 9 square that's in the middle. And this thing is good to go with one exception. And that is the ISO on this has been changed to auto. So I'm going to click on the ISO button, which is right up here on the top once. And I'm going to set this at 100 ISO, and I'm good to go on this part right now. So this also needs to have a safety taped into it so that, again, when I yank on that, it doesn't pull the cabling out of this, or God forbid, if you're going straight into your camera here, it'll yank it out of that, and that's real trouble. Over here at Capture One, I'm simply going to build a new session for this for today. What's my session name for today? What's today's date? 12, 11, 12, 12, 12, underscore, CCC, underscore, okay, where should I put this? Say what? Pictures? Why? Why not put it on my desktop? Exactly, worst place in the world you can put it. Coming over here to check on my camera, we'll get all into this a little bit later here, but it actually shows it up here, you can see it. So the first thing that you have to do in this whole process is that you need something that is middle gray. So I don't know for certain if this thing is middle gray. It should be pretty close to being middle gray, but if you guys are doing this as a meter check outside, you want to look at, again, you want to try to find a scene that's basically general lighting that's full of all sorts of, a full range of tones. This would actually be, this will give us a pretty good fair example about what should be going on here. If you want really even lighting on this guy, you actually cross light it. You can see where this light actually is. You want this light to point right on that far edge right there. And then you want this other one to point at its far edge here. that will give you the most even light that we can actually get on this guy. And then I'm going to simply see what my meter reading says that I should actually be shooting on this thing. So I am going to turn my autofocus off. You don't need this to be in focus. As a matter of fact, if it's not, it's a little easier to work with. I've got a shadow that's being cast by this, so I'm going to move him. I'm just going to keep him out for a second. And so then I'm simply going to look in here and see that you can ignore that picture. I'm just going to try and set this thing so that it's giving me a proper exposure. So in my case right here, it's indicating a perfect exposure at a 25th of a second at 5.6. Make sense? So I'm simply going to shoot a picture that way and see what we get. So this is the reading that I'm actually getting on here. You can color balance on this guy to sort of neutralize it out. However, so this is what it's basically telling me. This is my camera's indicating perfect exposure right now. Does that make sense, everyone? But now I'm actually going to put in a color card and find out just how honest that is. You don't want this thing to be closer like this because this would actually be closer to your lights. You need to actually put this all the way right back here. In theory, with that thing straight on at me and these things at 45-degree angles, I shouldn't be getting any glare on this card. So hopefully that's going to be the case. I do have to focus this guy now. So it's telling me the same exposure. I'm going to zoom in on this guy. Color balance here, and read this, and it's reading a 201. What is that telling me? Yeah, and how much underexposed? I don't really know, but we can find out right now. So again, what I'm going to do right here is I'm simply going to change my ISOs here. I'm going to go up one full stop. Make sense? And do another one. 237, not quite there. Another third of a stop. Sorry. Right where I want to be, right? So if I believe the meter in my camera, it was telling me to be a stop and a third under. That's better than half of my data for this file. That's horrible, right? So what that's telling me is I need to actually add. So again, if I was doing weddings, I would be maybe a little nervous pushing at that last third, but I would know that this is a full stop off. So in this case, what I would be doing is I either look in here at the little reading thing where it says you're a full stop over, or you can change that. Again, if you're not using, if you're using a handheld meter, you would simply change it. I would have my camera set to be shooting at 100 ISO, but I would put 50 ISO on my meter because that would give me, that would indicate a full stop more exposure for me. So if I use those settings, not the ASA or the ISO, but those settings, it would actually work for me. Make sense? So let's find out if this really does work. I'm going to bring these lights in much closer. Why is it always that way? So that clearly should have changed my exposure, don't you guys think? And I'm just going to try. I'm going to add a stop and a third in this camera and looking at that little scale so it indicates a third and a stop and a third over and see what we get. Okay. All right, so that's one stop over. So it's indicating 50 at 5.6. that's too hot. Oh, wait. I've changed my ISO here. I got to go back to my normal. So I'd started at 100. Now the stop and a half over should be correct, or stop and a third over. Oh, wait. I'd reset it here in the camera. Hang on. All right, this will be a stop and a third over. 254, too much. I don't know that the stops inside this camera are perfectly set, but we'll see. 250 threshold. So again, it's telling me a stop. Does that sort of make sense? So then let's find out if we really are good. So it's just telling me that this thing is a full stop off. What it's saying is that this thing is more sensitive than it truly is, and that's the case in all camera manufacturers. They lie to you. Do any of you shoot film? Any of you shoot transparency film? Transparency film manufacturers used to lie all the time about this as well. I'm going to go way back here, and way back here. And again, go to read a full stop over. .244. So I'm in that range. Does this make sense? That's what you got to do. Are we good on this part? Okay. Let's jump back over here really quickly, and we can start. I think we're through all the capture-y part. So guys, the long and the short of it is, the takeaway from all of this, the most important issue in all of this is that you have got to desperately do everything that you can to get your exposure perfect. Make sense? Are we good on that part? Should we all go get a group tattoo that says something to that effect? All right. So I need everybody to go ahead and let's just fire up Capture One. I want to have a conversation. We're going to actually start to go down this road and talk about it. So what I'm going to do for you is this. I'm going to start this from the beginning as if nobody knew anything about this at all. So I need all of you on computers to actually do this with me. So we need to have a quick conversation about what you really need to run Capture One. So I'm just going to throw out a quick little list here. Most of all of this you will already have, but there are a couple of issues in here that you may not have. So it's just something to be aware of. Who was trying to actually launch Capture One today? Kelsey, was it you? Somebody was trying to launch today. Juliana, it was you, and you didn't have the right system for it? Yeah. Go ahead. Yes, you can update. What I would suggest not updating, though, is what they've got on these computers. I would actually suggest you do an incremental upgrade that'll let you run this, but will not fuck up everything that those things have fucked up. I can help you out with that if you want. I can give you the thing that I can give you where you should be. How's that sound? Who else here? There's somebody else here that I think was also still running on El Capitan. Is that you as well? Did you upgrade at all? I can give you both the upgrade that you should use, that you shouldn't, shit will work for you. You shouldn't notice any really significant change. It's really stable because it's like they've just upgraded, they've done another upgrade right now, which by the way, for those of you who always want to stay the latest, greatest, Adobe, everybody has been sending out warnings not to upgrade to the latest version of Apple software because it breaks Photoshop and Lightroom both. So if you do, you won't be able to use that, and downgrading is a huge pain in the ass. For me, I am on High Sierra, or Sierra, I don't know which one I'm on. To find out, just come up to About This Mac and it'll pop open. I'm on Sierra, which is 1012. I'm going to give these guys High Sierra, which is 1013. The computers here are Mojave, which is 1014, and they've just released Catalina, which is 1015. Again, High Sierra would be as far as I would consider going. Everything still works. You're safe on everything. Unfortunately, the latest one not only breaks Photoshop and Lightroom both. It's a whole nother world of hurt as well. There's a whole bunch of legacy programs that will no longer function with it. So at any rate, at your own risk. But nonetheless, a couple things to know about this, and this is one of the first things I want everybody to do. I want you to go into your Finder. I want you to come up to the top of your Finder, the word that actually says Finder, and come down to Preferences. And when Preference opens up, I want you to make sure that you've got all of these things checked. That usually is not the case. Especially this hard disk, you want that part connected. You want to be able to see that part because we need to check and see how much room you've actually got on your hard drive. It won't let you check it? Of course not. And it's not checked, right? Of course not. Okay. So then just watch what's going on here and you'll see basically what's happening. There may be another way we can get to it. So let me hide everybody else and close up my windows. So if you just come up to your file menu and you do New Window and you look, maybe there's another way we can get to this here. In your new window right here, if you look on the side over here, do you see anything over here that says Macintosh HD? Nope. All right. Well, at any rate, on your own computer, if you've got those things checked, what you want to do is we've got to find out how much space we've actually got on the hard drive. Now, my hard drive has been renamed Boot MPB13. Don't let that confuse you. This is all this is Macintosh HD. Right here. Click on it once, and then come over to the File menu and come down to Get Info. The shortcut for that is Command-I. This is what we need. This is the information right here. You need to know what the capacity of your hard drive is, and you need to know what is available. And what is available is a minimum of 10%. One of the biggest problems that you guys are having working on your laptops is that you have too much shit on your computer. You need free space on there because what happens is in doing memory management in a Macintosh world, and this is true in a Windows world as well, it actually uses hard disk space temporarily to make your computer function, to be able to run. And if you don't have that available space temporary, it will cause your computer to come to a crippling halt. It causes crashes. It causes all sorts of, it's a nightmare. You do not want that. So you never want this to creep below a 10% threshold. So in my case, this is a 1 terabyte hard drive. Is what I have in my computer. That means I need 100 gigabytes of free space. Now, if you look at my that says available, it says that I've got 195 gigabytes of free space. So I am good to go. But if this said only 95 gigabytes of free space, whatever, I would not be good to go. So for those of you who could find it, what is your free space looking like? How are you doing? No, you want it for your, let me see right here.
I don't know what.
Now, you can close that guy up.
Yes.
Go up to your Finder. Yep. Go up to here. Come down to Preferences. Those guys are all on. You can click to get rid of that guy. You can close that window up. Good. And then when you come in, oh, it's this guy right here. Click on this once, and then come up to File and do Get Info.
File, Get Info.
And this is what you're looking for right here. So you are in deep trouble.
Yeah, I know.
You have 120 gigabytes in here, and you've got less than 10 free space. Trouble.
It's all in
And
the
from the
other.
look on Kelsey's face, she's in trouble as well. Yeah. Say what?
How do you get to figure out how much is on here?
In your case, you can't because you can't get to the hard drive. They won't let us get to the hard drive. If you came up to Finder and come down to Preferences, they won't let you turn that. We're trying to turn it on. They won't let you turn it on. In Finder, you don't?
Do I have to go to?
Over to Finder, the name Finder, and down to Preferences, and then click on that hard drive. You should also click on the servers as well. Yeah, and then go ahead and close that guy up, and then do a hide other. So click Finder again, and just do hide. It'll hide the rest of your screen stuff. And then now your computer is right there. Click on that once. That's okay. And then do File, Get Info. In the middle. And these are the numbers you're looking for right here. You have a terabyte, and you've got, oh no, you got tons. Oh wait, I thought that was 570.
No.
Nope, you do not have enough by like 50 gigabytes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, all of you guys.
What is purgeable?
Purgeable means that they are thinking that those files are redundant. You have 2 copies of something, or you have, there's stuff that sits in caches as well, which are temporary things, especially in your, the stuff that you do in either Chrome or Safari. They tend to store a lot of pages so that if you revisit a page that you've been to before, it loads really fast. It's because it's kept a copy of that on your computer. So yeah, how much free space? What's your free space? Can I look? I feel like I'm. Okay, so it's a 250 guy right here. So in your case, you're fine right here because what this is saying is that again, you would want 25 gigabytes available, and you have 75 almost. So you're good. I know. Yes.
So for a PC, would
Same thing. So in your disk part right here, that cannot be any of this stuff. I'm gonna. This has got to be yours right here. Is this disk partitions? No, that's only 100 megabytes. I don't know what your startup drive is.
Me neither.
We'll find this
Okay.
on Tuesday. Okay, so again, that 10% rule holds, guys, and that's the first thing that you would want to check. In your all's case, you have got to get rid of some of the shit that's on your computer. You need to put it out onto an external hard drive, make a backup of it so that you can bring it back. But all those old movies or your homework from 3 years ago, you don't care about it either. What?
So like if you were to go to the space and you see like 100 gigabytes in other, and I tried deleting stuff and I don't know how to.
We need to get together then at some point, either do office hours or either before this or at some point, and we will, because there's programs that that I can run that you don't, so because I already own them, you don't have to buy them, whatever, that'll spot where your problem is. Okay. So that's the first thing you actually need to check in this. Pretty much all the other computers that you guys are running right now are going to have the software to actually do that, so you don't need to really worry about that part. So with all of that being said, we need to talk about Capture One really quickly, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. If you can go online really quickly and go to Capture One, go to Phase One's website. So Command New. Do a search either for Phase 1 or Capture One. And when you get to Phase 1's website, they will actually offer all sorts of things up here. Capture One sits up at the very top. It's one of the drop-down menu parts right here. If you click on Capture One, it will actually drop down, and it'll offer to tell you again. This is where you would download your your trial version if you actually want to use that part. So there's a lot of conversation about here where you can, it'll talk about it, where you can buy it, where you can do. You will see that there are some other possibilities in all of this that we need to talk about. In older versions of Capture One, they supported all of Phase's cameras, all of Leaf's cameras, all of Mamiya's cameras. They do not support Hasselblad, but they did Canons and Nikons. When Sony came out, Sony has actually done some weird things that made that compatibility a challenge. They actually ended up doing a Sony version of this that is just for Sony. The problem with this one just for Sony is it works fine for Sony, but if you grab a Canon camera, it won't work for your Canon camera. However, the newest version of Capture One will also work with Sony, so you want to do the standard version of it. So if you come up here to download, it'll open this thing up, and you'll see you have other versions here. There's a Capture One Pro here. Again, there's another one also for Fuji, a very specific one. What they're not showing right here, and they should be showing right here, let's go ahead and click on the download for Capture One Pro. There's two versions of this that you should know about, and this is only giving me this one download part right here, so you need to know this. There's two versions of Capture One Pro. There's Capture One Pro, just Capture One Pro flat out, and then there's one that's called Capture One DB. It stands for database. I'm sorry, not database, digital back. And what it means is this, is that the only way you can run a Phase 1 camera is by using Capture One software. So they figure if you're going to spend $50,000 on a new camera or $100,000 on a new digital back, that they need to give you the software for free. That is the digital back version. So again, you can download it, you can use it for free, but it will not work with any camera except for a Phase 1 camera. So that's the DB version. It's free. It's not going to mean anything to you guys. You can't use your Sony, your Canon, your Nikon. You can't use anything with it. The version that you have to use is the Capture One version, the Pro version of it, if you are going to work with those other camera models. That being said, we've already talked about this before. There is a subscription version of it, 20 bucks a month, or the flat-out buy-it version of it for $299. Occasionally this will go on sale. There is no educational discount. There used to be. They don't do it anymore. It's just the way it is. Sorry about that. So just so that you know, it's not something to wait and to actually look for. Other things to know about it, and it is their licensing system, and this is critical to you guys. So this is the way their licensing works. When you buy a license them, so for instance, if you were to do it right now, Capture One 12 is the current version. Your license code will work with any version of Capture One. So it'll go back to 11, 9, you can load any version of it, it doesn't matter. It'll work with 12 as well. When you upgrade, so let's say they come out with 13 and you upgrade, your license code for 12 is destroyed. It will no longer function at all on anything. However, the version for 13 the code for 13 will work for any version of Capture One. So it's not like when you upgrade, you lose it. Upgrades are 99 bucks, so just so that you know that that part's existing. You have to be online when you first launch Capture One. You have to be connected to the internet, because what happens is Capture One, when you first launch the software, it connects to Capture One's servers, and once it's connected to those servers, it actually copies. There's a unique ID code that exists in everybody's computer. That unique ID code is actually then stored on their servers. They match those two numbers together. Your computer will then run that version of Capture One forever. You don't need to worry about it. However, if something goes horribly wrong with Capture One and you need to reset its preferences, it breaks that connection. Now, that's not a problem if you're in the studio, but if you're out in the field and all of a sudden Capture One starts acting really wonky on you and you reset the preferences, you will not be able to run it unless you can connect to the internet to actually re-certify the software. Does that make sense? So if that happened to you, what would you do? Exactly what you do. No, but this is critical. You whip out your phone and you turn on your personal hotspot that'll then allow your computer to connect no matter where you are, and then you can again complete that connection. And as soon as the connection is made on the Capture One servers, you can turn that part off. You do not need to be connected to the servers to actually run. It's only when you are at least initially authorizing the software. Does that make sense? It's just a great thing to know, because I've seen people who are just like, they're devastated. They can't run, they can't do anything because they feel like they can't get Capture One to run again, and they just haven't thought it through. So just something to think about in your mind as far as that whole part actually goes. Most of this stuff we don't need to worry about any longer. Okay, I'm not sure that they're going to let you guys do this on your computers here, but I want to show you guys again. This is a great trick, especially for you guys who are on your own laptops. This is going to be my suggestion to you. So I'm simply going to go through the steps here to show you this, but when you guys are working typically on your computer, you guys have got your email going, you have got a website going, you've got your music is playing, you've got something else going on. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff that's actually happening on at the very same time, right? You can't have that in a Capture One world. You should have everything completely shut off. But there's another problem. You guys indiscriminately load software all the time. You click on every fucking attachment that was ever emailed to you. The actual place that you guys are working is filthy in a computer frame of mind. So if you really truly want to avoid problems working with a program as finicky as Capture One can be, it's better to work on it in its own environment. And so to do that, I need everybody to come up to, if you can, you're not going to be able to do this on the school computers because they're locked down, so just watch this instead. But for the rest of you, come up to your little Apple icon, come down to System Preferences. Inside of System Preferences, click on Users and Groups. Inside of Users and Groups, you unlock this, unlock the whole set. So in my case, again, it's just asking, this is your local password now, the one that you use to do everything else. Unlock this. Everybody good on this so far? And then click on this little plus right down here. And in this plus, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new user. The new user that you want to create in this drop-down menu, you want it to be an administrator, which means it can do that this user will be able to do anything. And you want to call this new user Capture One. What? Yes. Anyway, call this Capture One. What we are doing is we are building an independent user that you can then log into. This independent user won't have any of your music. It won't have any of your if you were to launch Chrome or Safari, it won't have any of your bookmarks. It won't have any of your email. It's a completely separate thing. And this is the environment that you want to run Capture One in. So again, you would fill the rest of this part out. In the name, it's going to automatically supply this name for you. You do want to password protect this thing. I just use the exact same password I use for my own. Simply type this in and then click on Create User. If you do that, I'm going to cancel out of mine because I've already got mine done. Then when you log in, once you actually have done this, come up to your Apple menu, come down to the bottom and say Log Out. And in this case, it's going to log me out. It will turn off all the programs that I'm using. All that stuff is actually going to go away from me. You'll see what it looks like right here in a second. I'm going to lose the recording right now, so remind me to start the recording again as soon as I get back in here. All right, so...